Hello everybody, my name is Zen and welcome back to Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, I'm back into this game because they released patch 1.5, which fixes a bunch of stuff and adds a bunch of stuff. It just makes the game like really good. It's called the next gen update, and the reason why is because it actually adds next gen support for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Note that the Xbox Series S is missing ray tracing support. It's not going to get it, but the other two consoles do have ray tracing now, and a bunch of other improvements. They added new free DLC, which is not too exciting, but what it is you can like go and purchase new apartments in the game. You could customize V's first apartment to begin with, and there's a bunch of other stuff in here. So we're gonna jump in. We're gonna talk about this stuff, but just as like a TLDR, you know, what are my thoughts on this patch? Well, I've played a couple hours now. I'm showing you just the beginning of the game, so it's that way I'm not spoiling anything for anybody who hasn't played Cyberpunk. But if you're interested in knowing more about Cyberpunk, especially when it launched, I did a full playthrough of the game. I'll put the playlist in the description and all that stuff, and you can check it out there if you're so interested. If not, then don't worry about it. Go play it for yourself. Why? Because I think that this patch is actually quite fantastic. And yes, it's considered a next-gen upgrade for the Xbox and the PlayStation, but it also adds quite a lot of improvements for the PC version as well. And if you're like me, who enjoys, you know, a good balance of visuals versus performance, I always try to get above 60 FPS, and when the game first came out, it was really hard to do that, even with DLSS, but now that 1.5 is out, I'm noticing I'm just like cruising around at 60 FPS plus and running the game on almost complete ultra settings. There's just a few that I turn down or turn off, like chromatic aberration, because it's just not useful. It doesn't look good, and it just, for whatever reason, makes the game look gross. Like, just turn it off. Don't keep that on. But hey, you know, if you're playing on console, I think that this is a perfect opportunity, or rather, if you have a next-gen console, I think this is a perfect opportunity to play through the game, especially if you never have touched it, or you're just kind of curious about how you might feel about it if you touched it for a few hours and more into it, and maybe this new upgrade will help, because there's a lot here to love. So first off, as I had mentioned, you could go purchase new apartments in the game. It's kind of like playing GTA in a way, where you're like, I'm gonna go purchase a new apartment. Some of them can get quite expensive, but I think that it's cool that you could change it up a bit. I never really had many reasons to go back to my apartment during my full playthrough, aside from story moments. However, there are new reasons to visit your apartment and actually interact with the stash and all that stuff. So there's new things that you could do in your apartment. So first off, you could like take a shower, which gives you a buff that allows, it's called refresh, that allows your health to regenerate more during combat. Or you could like go to sleep and it gives you 20% additional skill experience, which is pretty good. I'll talk about the experience thing in a second, because I have thoughts on that based on having played and completed the game. There's also like you can make coffee, which gives you energized, which gives you max stamina and stamina regen, which is hyper good, especially if you were playing like me, which was with mantis blades and melee. But when it comes to the XP buff, I think that's nice to have if you're in particular like looking to upgrade some of your specific skills, like let's say rifles or quick hacking or something like that. But when I played the game, I did, you know, quite a lot of the side stuff. I didn't do all of it. I probably just scratched the surface, in my honest opinion, on like all the side stuff that there was to do in the game. But even then, by the end of the game, I was max level. So I'm not quite sure the skill XP is gonna be hyper good. I didn't feel like I needed any more XP by the time I got to the end of the game. I was max level, and I had all the skills that I was using maxed out, and that was that. So it might be nice if you're not necessarily intending to play through everything, if you're just going to mainline the story, or, you know, honestly, if you're just going to go do other things. Like maybe it'd be nice if you're going to, you know, spread your skills pretty far on your skill tree and not necessarily focus like I did. I think then it might be a little bit more worth it. But also, and this is probably the most exciting thing that you could do in your apartment, is you could customize your character now. Heck yes. I hated the fact that, and I hate this about any game that has a character creator that is as in-depth as Cyberpunk's. And you get to a certain point in the game where you're like, I don't really like the look of this particular, like, I don't like my nose on my character. It's really bothering me. And every time I look at my character, I see my stupid nose and I can't fix it. Well, now you can. So you go to the mirror and you just select, you know, customize character, and it just opens up the character creator and you can completely customize your character once again. That's a huge relief. They still, to my knowledge, don't have the ability to hide a helmet, which I think is a huge shame. But everything else is, you know, there for customization, and I like that a lot. I think that's probably one of the best things that they've done. If you're interested in photo mode, which I know a lot of people are, like they like to take screenshots and everything, there's a stupid amount of poses that they added into photo mode, so you can customize your screenshotting all that you like. But and this is probably the main meat of the update, is they just made the city more alive. Like the AI for combat, the AI for crowds, just all of it has been improved. The crowds look better on the street. They behave more reasonably, like you would expect them to. It's more like a living city as opposed to a simulated living city, and that's a pretty big difference compared to what it was before, where if you just stopped in the middle of the street in the previous versions of Cyberpunk, you would break the game in a lot of ways, because traffic wouldn't have any idea what to do or how to get around you, or it would just all, the simulation would just stop. It would be like playing, or it would be like being in the Matrix with Neo, and Neo just decides that he just doesn't want to do anything, so he just sits there and wastes away. Like the world around him wouldn't know how to react. It'd be like, what are we doing, right? It's kind of the same thing here. It's like the world around you in Cyberpunk just doesn't know how to react if you just stand in the middle of the street. That's a little bit better now. The actual way for that crowds pathfind and respawn, and the way they despawn, and just work in general is much improved. Driving is massively improved, and they had a patch a while back when I was still doing the playthrough where you were able to go in and customize your controls, like very, very particularly with the driving model, and you can get the cars kind of feeling the way that you want them to feel in the game. Well, that is, you know, now even more improved. They went through and did like a double take on that one, and it's awesome. I actually enjoy driving around in the game. On top of that, traffic has been improved. So if you look at, you know, kind of like what I was saying before, if you're watching the world kind of live around you, it looks more, you know, it looks less simulated and more like an actual living world. And the way that everything reacts and acts with each other is also quite good. Then they went through and just balanced the game. They went through and chopped a bunch of perks out that were not necessary. Like, goodness, I think one of them I had read before, but it had something to do with like being less detectable while underwater, which is not a thing that you really do in the game anyway. So they took that one out. They're like, ah, that's useless. And they did that with quite a few of them that just weren't good. They went and rebalanced a bunch of them. So now the you know, character builds are a little bit more balanced, and you know, if you want to go and start a new character, if you've played through the game like I have, now is the perfect time, because now you have all this new balance stuff to go through and check out new perks. Maybe try a different gameplay style that you didn't play before. Cyberware is much improved. Combat's improved. Like, everything is improved across the board, and I think that is super nice. Now, I'm going to say this because it's not necessarily in the patch notes, but it is something people are starting to notice, which is that there are more dialogue lines in the game, like new voice lines and new texts that you get from like romanceable characters. Suddenly they act like they care about you, and they're suddenly texting you and sending you these messages. And it's really cool that they've improved the life of the game. Like, I want to say like the longevity of the game, not like that kind of life, but how the game feels alive now that you're in it, tenfold, just by doing little things like this. And I love that. I love it so much. So with all of this added, and there's literally so many things with this patch that I'm not going to be able to touch on all of them. I'm just hitting up the big ones. My thing that I want to stress here is that they have added like a trial that you could play for, I think it's like 5 hours, and that your save files transfer over if you decide to buy the game. So even if you're like, I still don't know if buying Cyberpunk is the thing to do right now. It's on sale, but is it worth it? I would say go do the trial. Check it out for 5 hours, and yeah, I would say about 5 hours is right for figuring out whether or not you're going to enjoy the game. If you're going really slow, you might need a little bit more time than that to be like, yes, I like this, or no, I don't like this. But I think, yeah, 5 hours is about right for the average person to get into the game or not get into the game. That will allow you to hit up a lot of the major story beats, which actually I would say if you're going to do the trial, try to do a lot of the main story, because that's the best part of the game. And you know, chat with some characters, and then if you decide to play, do some of the side stuff. Don't get lost in the side stuff to begin with, and definitely don't go just like trying to explore the world. Like I said, I would focus on the main story, because if that interests you, then the rest of it's going to be good enough or better than the main story. And if the main story doesn't interest you, then the rest of the game isn't going to be interesting, and you should probably go play Horizon or something, because that just came out too, which, you know, there's something to be said about how weird of timing that is, where the Cyberpunk patch got announced and released in the same day, but they did it in a month where we've got like Pokemon, Arceus, and Horizon, and Elden Ring, and like Total Warhammer 3, and there's just like so many games coming out this particular month. Like, it feels maybe like they could have waited a month and tried to space that out a little bit. But actually, I also think this is a perfect time, because maybe you don't have a PlayStation to play the new Horizon. Then you're like, hey, you know, on my Xbox X, Series X, I could jump in and play Cyberpunk now. Or on my PC, I could jump in and play that, because I'm a PC gamer. I don't have, you know, one or more of the consoles. So yeah, it's just one of those interesting time frame things. But overall, I really like the update. The city is gorgeous, you know, all the graphical improvements that they've done, and performance improvements. And now on PC, they also have a benchmark that you can do in order to dial in your settings and figure out, you know, how things are running. And yeah, it's just way better than it was when it launched. And for me, and these were my kind of closing thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077 when I rolled credits and finished the game. I really like a lot of the characters. I like Johnny. I like Pan Am. I think she's kind of a cool character. I like Judy. You know, there's cool individual characters there. The main story as a whole is really quite awesome. The final boss fight is stupid, and the side missions are hit and miss. You know, you either love them or you don't. But the fact that the world now feels more alive makes those side things a lot better, because it means that exploring the city and going through, you know, piece by piece feels better to do. And because of that, I think that Cyberpunk has gone from being a pretty okay game to a pretty great game with a single patch. Now, obviously, there's been patches before this that have done their fair share of the workload here, but this is definitely the biggest step forward as far as the improvement from launch is concerned. So let me know in the comments if you're going to play it for the first time, or if you're going to return. Maybe you're going to be like me. I'm going to do a replay through of the game, or at least I'm going to start one. I don't know if I'll finish it because there is so many things coming out this month and I've been quite busy. But yeah, I'm going to do a sneaky sniper this time. I did a quick hacking melee character for my playthrough, and I used the mantis blades. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun, but I'm going to do like a sneaky sniper, and I'm going to see if that's, something that I enjoy doing. If not, I may respec and go like full on heavy weapons, because that also sounds fun, or tech weapons. Ooh, yeah, that also sounds really cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of options for me. Let me know in the comments if you're going to play, if you're going to do the trial, or if you're going to return to the game. And then if you do, also let me know what you think of it, because I think that that's an interesting discussion to be had as well. With all that being said, thank you for watching, and we shall see you all next time.